Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Points in the Paint, provided to you by For Fantasy's Sake. I am Sam Odeyemi. Tonight, I'm going to touch on a lot of the moves that have been made in the last week alone. We had a few trades, but mostly a lot of the moves came in free agency. I literally have 2 pages of notes. So many players are switching homes. A couple of players, key players, are staying in the same place. But without further ado, I'll get right to it. My Twitter handle is below. Feel free to tweet me if there's something you want me to touch on. Yeah, and when I last left off with you guys, we talked about some of the trades that happened, some of the big time trades. Literally a day or two after that, John Collins from Atlanta got traded to the Utah Jazz for Rudy Gay. John Collins has been um, linked to trade rumors for the last couple of years. Atlanta finally pulled the plug and made that move. They traded them to Utah for Rudy Gay and I think a second round draft pick. Um, I felt like Atlanta could have got a lot more for John Collins. He's a young forward, 25, 26, playing some of his best basketball, and they traded him for a veteran and a draft pick. So I definitely felt like Atlanta lost that trade. Utah definitely run that trade. Utah's got some really nice young pieces: Larry Marketing, THT, Walker Kessler, and now they're bringing John Collins, who, as well. I think that's gonna bode well for Utah. Not to mention, six man extraordinaire Jordan Clarkson is still there as well. So I think Utah is gonna have another good season. Last year they just missed the playing game. I think this year they could potentially make the playoffs and potentially uh, definitely make the playing game, if not make the playoffs. So we'll wait to see what other moves Utah makes. Want to jump into some of these other free agency signings that have happened. There's just been so many different signings. Looks first one I have in my notes. Dante DiVincenzo opted out of his contract with the Golden State Warriors, and he is now signed with the New York Knicks for a 4-year deal. He gets reunited with two of his college teammates, Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson. They all played at Villanova together. So you're calling them a Nova Knicks now. So that's good for both. That's good for Divincenzo, and good for the Knicks. The Knicks lacked a lot of 3-point shooting, especially in the playoffs. You saw that when they were playing Miami, they just could not, shoot the ball from a three, and that kind of doing them. So to go out there and get Divincenzo is a great signing for them. And still keeping their core intact for the most part. It did. Guess I could kind of segue into they did ended up trading Obi Toppin, their first round draft pick a couple of years ago, to the Indiana Pacers. That was to be expected. I know Toppin didn't really get a lot of minutes in that backup forward position, playing behind Julius Randle and R.J. Barrett. And then there was rumors that Obi Toppin did clash with his head coach Tom Thibodeau. So again, that move was to be expected. I like that move a lot for Indiana. You get a player of top and caliber. He's definitely improved. You could tell physically he slimmed down, more leaner, and he could hit the three. And I think playing with a guard like Tyrese Halliburton in Indiana is only going to help him flourish some more. He'll probably catch a bunch of oops, and he could get a chance to show how much his game has expanded since he's entered the NBA. And that's really just what it all is in the NBA. Just players finding the right opportunity for the right team. Some young players they get drafted to good teams and they're stuck behind, players above them, so they don't necessarily get that time to show what they're worth, what they're made of. And so I think that's a good move for Toppin. I think he will bode well in Indy, um, and only time will tell with that. And then I also want to look at for the Chicago Bulls. I guess I could just talk about some of their players that are returning: Nuke Vucevic, Kobe White, and Andre Drummond. They were with the team last year. They all Drummond opted into his contract. Kobe White and Vucevic were free agents who both re-signed. So the Bulls are trying to keep their core together and stay tack. Um, the Bulls are my team, and I'm hoping that next year we can definitely make a playoff push. Obviously not having Lonzo until hurts a lot, but we did go out and sign Javon Carter from Milwaukee, who's a point guard and who plays, is a great defender as well. So I think that's a great signing. Just bringing that lead guard to kind of get the ball, to our big guns, to Zach and Demar, and obviously take the pressure off to Sumu and Kobe White in a sense from having to run the point. So I think that's going to bode well for Chicago too. It's not a huge contract; it's a 3-year deal, very cap friendly. So I like the signing for the Bulls. Just making small moves, nothing major, and I think that's going to bode well for us. Um, a big signing, which I like as well, is Bruce Brown from uh, the Denver Nuggets. He just signed a 2-year, $45 million contract with the Indiana Pacers. Fresh off winning the championship, Bruce Brown, cashed in. Um, Only 26 years old, high energy guy, and he gets to play with Tyrese Halliburton too. Bruce Brown's a great off ball guard. Or you could even play small forward in some lineups. I think he'll thrive playing in Indy as well with Tyrese Halliburton, and some of the other pieces that they brought in. So congrats to Bruce Brown. He even said it himself a couple years ago before he signed with Denver after leaving the Nets. Nobody wanted to sign him, so he took that 1-year deal, went to Denver, won a championship, and then now he's going to Indy for a 2-year deal and is going to get paid, and it's rightfully so, well deserved. And congratulations to him. I really like what the Pacers are doing in free agency. Getting top end and then getting Bruce Brown too. Both of those guys play hard, gritty, especially Bruce Brown, just very gritty. He's a guy you definitely want on your team, and obviously he's got that championship experience that he's bringing to Indiana. So I think that's going to be good for the Pacers moving forward. Um, Looking at now, I'm going to jump ship and go all the way to the West Coast. Sacramento Kings, they re-signed two of their own. They re-signed Harrison Barnes and they re-signed Demonis Sabonis. Um, and I think that's good to keep that core together. Sacramento finally broke that playoff drought last year, and Sacramento is loaded with talent. You look at De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk, you look at Keegan Murray, and some of the other guys they have there, and then obviously keeping Barnes and Sabonis is going to be good for them to build on the continuity and push forward. They took Golden State to 7 games last year, if I remember correctly, and it took Steph Curry just going bananas in that last game for them to get past the Kings. But I think the Kings are going to get back to the playoffs this year, and I think the Kings are looking to really make some noise. And it'll be good to see the Kings, kind of get back to how Sacramento used to be back, let's say in the early 2000s. And so when they have Lottie Divac and Chris Webber, Brad Miller, Doug Christie, Mike Bibby, that team, Bobby Jackson, they were always, challenging the Lakers. They're always making the playoffs, and it'll be good to see Sacramento basketball get back to that point. And I think that's what they're striving for there. They still got Coach Mike Brown, who's obviously well traveled, Coach LeBron and is, coach the Lakers, and he's, a very experienced coach. So I love what Sacramento's doing as well. Okay, looking at Joe Harris from Brooklyn. He got traded to Detroit. I think Brooklyn's trying to get rid of some of those bad contracts, so that was probably a cap saving move. Um, and we'll see what else Brooklyn does. I think their roster is kind of definitely needs some retooling. They got a bunch of forwards there, if I remember correctly, with Nick Claxton, Cam Johnson. They still got Mikal Bridges and Ben Simmons as well. So they're gonna, they're getting rid of some of their bad contracts. Joe Harris is one of the first. And like I said, he went to Detroit in the trade. Um, Draymond Green re-signed with Golden State, but that was to be expected. He wasn't going anywhere. He just opted out to sign a more cap-friendly deal. Got probably his last big contract. That contract should probably take him till he's age 37. So that's good, and Golden State keeps their championship core together with Green, Thompson, Curry for at least another year or so, depending on what they do with Klay Thompson. Jeremy Grant from Portland, he resigned an extension for 5 years. So Portland's keeping him. Jeremy Grant has gotten a lot better. Has steadily improved these last few years. So Portland wants to keep him in tow. Um, Karis LeVert from Cleveland, he re-signed with the Cleveland Cavs. Kyle Kuzma with Washington, he re-signed. I'm not sure how big the market was for Kuzma, and I think Washington offers him his best chance to secure the bag. And then Kuzma said himself that he wants to go somewhere he feels comfortable, and he felt very comfortable in Washington, and he felt like his game expanded, being in Washington. So kudos to him for getting that contract, well deserved. Um, and then now I'm looking at the Phoenix Suns. So the Phoenix Suns, obviously, they traded for Bradley Beal, and I talked about that um, all last week. And then they had to fill out the rest of their roster. So the Suns signed a bunch of guys: Drew Ebanks, Keita Bates-Diop, Damian Lee, and Watanabe from Brooklyn. They all signed with Phoenix. And then Phoenix also recently, like before, like an hour ago or maybe a couple hours ago, they also signed Eric Gordon as well. And so Phoenix is filling out the rest of their roster. Obviously, they play behind the big three of Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker. They still got DeAndre Ayton. Want to see what they're going to do with him. And then they still got Cameron Payne, and they also have Josh Okogie too. So Phoenix has had, I guess, 10 guys now on their roster. Be interesting to see who else they bring on board to kind of surround their big three with. Troy Brown Jr., who previously played for the Lakers, he went to Minnesota. Um, and let's see, Chimize Mitsu from Sacramento. He also signed with Phoenix as well. He was one of the free agents. He's a big man, power forward. So Phoenix is adding some size too. So that was a good signing for them. He's young, relatively 26, so he'll be able to come in and give them some fresh legs, some young legs. Russell Westbrook from the we signed with the Clippers for 2 years. I'm not gonna lie, did I really wanted to see Russ go to Miami and play with Jimmy and Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo. I think Russ, going to Miami and maybe coming off the bench or starting, but I think he could have been, a factor and gave them another playmaker and somebody who can attack and somebody who can go downhill and somebody who could have really helped Miami. But he resigned with the Clippers. He's very appreciative of the Clippers, and what the Clippers did for him, and the team wanted him back. And the team really just appreciated him. When he was with the Lakers, he was always getting blamed for everything. And the thing with Russ and the Lakers is it was just a bad fit. And that's just all it was. It was just a bad fit. Russ is not a bad player. He was just in a bad situation. So, kudos to him for finding happiness with the Clippers. I know he's from the California area. I think he might be from LA. So probably just want to stay close to home. So that makes sense why he signed with them with the re-signed with the Clippers. So again, congrats to Russ. Um, Georges Niang, another Iowa State alum, in addition to Halliburton. He signed with Cleveland, leaving Philadelphia. Cleveland needed some shooting. Uh, Kyrie Irving re-signed with Dallas. The market for Kyrie Irving was not there, so I think that was the best bet for him was to secure a long-term deal. It's a 3-year contract. Not sure if he has a player option or a team option in it, but he re-signed with Dallas. Um, a surprise signing to me was Dennis Schroeder leaving the Lakers to go to the Toronto Raptors. Schroeder got a 2-year, $26 million deal from the Toronto Raptors. Um, the Lakers aren't going to give him that money. The Lakers had other free agents that they were prioritizing in terms of Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell and their other free agents that they needed to sign. So, congrats to Shooter for getting his money well deserved. I think he will do fine in Toronto. Fred Van Fleet, who signed with Houston, um, leaves that point guard spot vacant, so Shooter can come right in and be the starting point guard for them. Toronto still got Siakam, still got Scotty Barnes, and they still have Gary Trent Jr. unless he um, decides to go somewhere else. But Toronto still got a nice core in place, so I think Shooter going there and Shooter will be 30 at the start of next season. So that's a good move for him. He's still in his prime, and I think he can play ample minutes. And I think Shooter can play off the ball too with the guy like Scotty Barnes who kind of handles the ball at their point forward. So I think that's a good move for him. I like Shooter as well because he can close games. He knows how to close games. So you can, and he's a tough defensive pest. So I think he'll be fine in Toronto. Where am I? Jacob Poli. I probably butchered that name. Since say Jacob P for Toronto, he also re-signed with the Raptors as well. So Toronto's trying to keep their core intact. I know They lost Fred VanVleet, but they're going to try to keep the core intact. I don't know if they want to blow it up yet, but we'll see what Toronto does this season. Moving over to the Milwaukee Bucks, Chris Middleton and just more recently Brook Lopez. They both resigned with the Bucks. And I think Milwaukee too, just a couple years removed from winning an NBA championship. They've dealt with some unfortunate injuries at the worst time. Giannis going down last year in the playoffs hurt them, and obviously uh, the year before Chris Middleton got hurt because I think if Middleton was healthy, the Bucks should have beat the Celtics in that series, but because Middleton was out, they didn't have that second option for Giannis, of course. So that's a good deal with Chris Middleton to bring him back, along with Brook Lopez. Um, Trey Jones from the San Antonio Spurs resigned, so they had their point guard there in place. But I'll touch on a little bit of that later. Obviously, the Spurs got Victor Wembanyama, so you want to have guys around him that can make things easier for him. Trey Jones and that is a good leader, good leadership on the court, and obviously he's their point guard, younger brother of Tyus Jones. So I think that was a good move for the Spurs, 2-year deal, and yeah, I'll touch a little bit on San Antonio again. Another surprise signing to me was Gabe Vincent, undrafted free agent. He left Miami and he signed with the Lakers. Um, he'll probably come off the bench. The Lakers did re-sign D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves. So Gabe Vincent, leaving Miami, cashing in a 3-year deal. I think he can close games too. Obviously, he's a very good 3-point shooter. The Lakers need a shooting, so that was a good signing for them. Joe Ingles, he was with Milwaukee. He signed with Orlando. Uh, I'm not too sure about that. Orlando's got a bunch of young players already. I don't know if they're just bringing him for veteran leadership, and they got a bunch of forwards too. You look at Paolo, and you look at Franz Wagner. They're just loaded with so many young players. I mean, you talked about uh, Jonathan Isaacs. I'm sorry, that they still have as well as a forward. So, and they brought back Orlando brought back Mo Wagner too. I know he's a center, but just want to see what that Orlando roster looks like. I'm sure I'm wondering if they're going to trade some of the younger players. Like I know Jalen Suggs has been linked in trade rumors, maybe Cole Anthony, but only time will tell what the Orlando Magic are looking to do. Shake Milton, that played for the Philadelphia 76ers. He's signed with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Uh, I'm never really sure what the T Wolves are doing. But Shake Milton's a nice point guard, 6'5", a big guard too, defensive player. So he showed flashes in Philadelphia. So hopefully he gets more of an opportunity in Minnesota. Herb Jones from the Pelicans, he re-signed. I think I've kind of already talked a little bit about the Lakers. Reeves and Russell re-signed, but then Rui Hachimura also re-signed with the Lakers as well. So the Lakers are trying to run it back with their core, keep their core together. Rui Hachimura was the first domino to fall for the Lakers. He uh, was one of the first trades they got in the trade deadline, and then they brought in those other guys, and that's what kind of jump started their turnaround last season. 6'8", hit the three, and he really balled out in the playoffs. So well deserved. I think he signed a 3-year deal. Um, and then again, he's coming back there with Austin Reeves, who earned his new 4-year contract, and D'Angelo Russell, uh, who signed to a 2-year contract. I The thing with D'Angelo Russell is the last two playoff appearances last year with the Lakers, he kind of shrunk versus Denver, just more so just being inconsistent. I mean, even the year before when he was in Minnesota, he kind of shrunk while he was playing with the T Wolves, and he was actually benched a lot of times for their backup point guard Jordan McLaughlin. So when the T Wolves traded D'Angelo Russell last season, I wasn't surprised because they probably thought, "Wait, we're gonna have to. We don't want to pay him all this money if we already know what we're gonna get from him when it's crunch time." That's just my thoughts on that. Um, it will be interesting to see what he does. You know, next year moving forward because the Lakers are obviously going to make a push to the playoffs and they're going to need him to be more consistent, especially being the point guard. You just can't have games where you just don't show up. And it's not just him. Anthony Davis did that a lot last year too, where he have a good game and then he have a no show and a good game. And if at this certain level, and when you're playing for a team like the Lakers, you gotta say the spotlight's gonna be on you, like it's gonna be white hot on you. Obviously you're playing for LeBron, so that's already magnified as well. So um, hopefully D'Angelo can find his footing and maybe thrive. This next season playing with the Lakers, more familiarity playing with LeBron, playing with AD, just knowing where your spots are, and continue to shoot the three at the great percentage. I think that's going to help him and open things up. He's not uber athletic, so he's not going to beat anybody off a dribble. So he's got to just be more crafty and just be more smart. But D'Angelo's still a good player. Just they got to be able to count on him when they need him most. All right. Fred Van Fleet, like I said, went from Toronto to Houston. He got paid. uh, Houston's making some moves. They obviously had a really good draft. I mean, now they're bringing in Fred Van Fleet, and they're also signing Dylan Brooks to a 4-year deal. And I honestly didn't think Dylan Brooks was going to be in the league after Memphis told him that they weren't going to resign him. So that was kind of a surprise that Dylan Brooks signed with Houston. But I think, if you look at it, though, they're a young team and they need that toughness. And Dylan Brooks is a tough defender and he brings that toughness, that trash talk. And he's gonna, he's gonna take the team's best perimeter player and try to take them out of the game. So I think that's good, good for him. And obviously Houston has a bunch of cap, so they had to spend it. And I mean, only time will tell with that Dylan Brooks signing. I know Houston got some other forwards and guards. They have Jalen Green and the guy they just drafted, the Thompson twin. Will time will tell how they're going to fit that all together. Kevin Porter Jr. as well. But yeah, you obviously want to give time to the younger guys, have them develop. So we'll see how that all meshes and comes together for new head coach Ime Udoka. Um, okay, uh, forgot to mention him, Cam Reddish, who's playing with Portland, who was with the also with the Knicks, and then got drafted by Atlanta. Who came in that same draft was Zion and RJ. All three of them played together in college for Duke. Cam, out of those three players, has bounced around a lot. He's uber talented, 6'8", 6'9", just crazy, athleticism and crazy defensive, intangibles. He struggled. Um, he struggled so far to this point in this league, and that's more so just like I said earlier, just finding the right opportunity. He showed flashes in New York, but he got in Tom Thibodeau's doghouse and he got a bunch of DMPs. I mean, he finally got traded to Portland and last season, the trade deadline or so, and he for Josh Hart. Definitely Josh Hart's panned out for the Knicks. Cam Reddish, in a limited time for Portland, I believe he averaged like 11 or so points, stuff like that, and maybe 4 rebounds. I think he's still, got a lot of improvement to do, but I think he will thrive playing with the Lakers. Definitely probably coming off the bench, just high energy. So I like that move for the Lakers. Um, and I like that move for Cam too because he just needs an opportunity. I still think he's like I said, he'll be 24 when the season starts next year. So giving him that opportunity is just going to be great for him and his continued development. The Lakers needs to go young. Obviously, LeBron's 38, going on 39, and AD, he might not be back next year too. So you want to start, you got to start looking at these young players, and you're going to be having to count on them. So you want to start giving them those meaningful minutes to have them develop. So hopefully he can get more minutes, more consistent minutes with the Lakers, and really show what he can do because he's shown that he can handle the ball and he's shown that he can do other, and he can facilitate, play make, he can shoot threes. So I think Cam Reddish is gonna definitely have a bounce back year with the Lakers. And then we also saw Curry on the move, not Steph Curry, but Curry's brother, Seth Curry. He got traded from Brooklyn to Dallas, and Brooklyn's trying to shed some of those bad contracts in a sense. And so that's that's good for Curry. I think he played for Dallas before, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I believe so. I mean, he went to Brooklyn. Um, can't remember what the situation was there, but I think he might have got traded to Brooklyn. But anyways, Seth Curry is going to back to Dallas. He'll be playing with Kyrie Irving, and he'll be playing with Luka Doncic, and he's obviously a 3-point sniper, so that'll be good. For him, he'll definitely get some good looks playing alongside Luka. And Kyrie, and they can pick and roll you to death, and then now they have shooters that they're surrounding around them too. So and that and I think he can come in and contribute right away. Definitely help their bench. Dallas has made some really good moves too. If you look at the draft, obviously drafting Derek Lively and then trading for Rashawn Holmes. They got some bigs. Re-signed Dwight Powell as well, one of the other free agents, and then re-signed Kyrie Irving, and then now you're getting Seth Curry. So we'll see what else um, Dallas does. Oh, and actually, they like I said, re-signed, but they actually signed Dante Exum. If you are a fan of basketball, you remember Dante Exum. He was drafted. He was drafted a few years ago or a while ago. I want to say by Utah. Very talented player. But he just dealt with so many injuries, and then he found himself out of the league. But last year he was balling out for, I want to say, the Euro League. Yeah, and he's back in the NBA. He's playing for Dallas. He's going to be playing for Dallas, and he's 6'6", uh, big guard, can play, make, facilitate. So I think he'll probably definitely come off their bench, and he's a great defender too. So he can kind of replace what they lost with Dorian Finney-Smith when they traded him to Brooklyn for Kyrie. So yeah, I like that. I think it could be a very good bounce back story for Dante Exum, coming back to the league after being out, and I think he can thrive. Playing in Dallas with those guys. So, and I think Jason Kidd can get the most out of him. So I think that was a great signing for Dallas too, and he's only 27 too. So man, there's a lot of players trading places. Okay, all right. If you let's see, Derrick Rose from the Knicks. Um, Obviously, Derrick Rose as was not playing for the Knicks, as the Knicks just prioritized the other younger players. Derrick Rose actually signed with Memphis, and a lot of people were kind of bummed out, wanted to see him go back to Chicago. I thought that would have been good for him to come back to Chicago because we do need a point guard, and he's not the same player he was, but he's still effective, in limited minutes. Obviously Derrick Rose dealt with his fair share of injuries as well, but he's shown that he can still be effective in limited minutes. But Derrick Rose is going to Memphis Grizzlies. Obviously, John Morant suspended for the 25 games, and then Memphis traded for Marcus Smart, so now Memphis has a plethora of nice guards. I like the move for that. I think Derrick Rose, like I said, can um, play in Memphis, and I think he could play alongside Ja. He could play alongside Smart, and then I think those three could be a three-headed snake. And then Marcus Smart could slide over to the two if need be, and then they can move Desmond Bain over if they want to go small. They still got Luke Kennard, I believe. So I like that move too. I think it's a good move. I think Rose can still show what he can do, and then at the same time, he can still get minutes and still mentor Ja Morant, who's already kind of, went on Twitter and whatnot and kind of expressed his support of that signing. Because I mean, if you look at it, Derek Ja Morant is what Derrick Rose was at his peak, just high flying point guard, throwing down rim rattling dunks. And I remember being in college watching Derrick Rose dunk on Goran Dragic or dunk on Joel Anthony or Greg Oden or all the other posters he has. And just Derrick Rose is just one of the most athletic point guards to probably ever play that position. Same thing with like Russell Westbrook, and so those guys, the opportunity for Ja to kind of learn from Derrick Rose, I think is going to be a beautiful thing. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to see what Memphis does. Memphis also re-signed Desmond Bain. And gave him an extension too, so they're keeping him in tow, and he's been, a great draft pick for them, and he's, definitely lived up to his billing. So it's good to see him, get his flowers well deserved for Desmond Bain. Um, Jackson Hayes from the New Orleans Pelicans. There's 23-year-old center who wasn't really getting the minutes in with the Pelicans. Obviously playing behind Valanciunas and some of the other forwards. Jackson Hayes went to the Lakers as well. He signed with the Lakers. I think that's a good move for the Lakers. They get a center to pair alongside Anthony Davis, and they got younger as well. Jackson Hayes can run the floor, catch oops, and he's shown he can kind of handle the ball a little bit. But I think he's gonna be a great pickup for the Lakers, and I think he's also great too because he can take pressure off Anthony Davis down low. So I know Anthony Davis is complaining about having the guard centers like Jokic and Embiid, whatnot, and some of the other bigs. So bringing in Jackson Hayes, who's young, who's only 23. So I think that's a good signing for both parties. Give him opportunity to shine, and it's going to help, and he'll be able to help the Lakers right away. Former Laker Thomas Bryant. Who got traded to Denver last season, won a championship. Now he's signed with Miami, and I think Thomas Bryant will be good too. Will be a good signing for Miami. Thomas Bryant to he can hit the three. He's not a big bulky center, but he's got the frame. He's got the height, 6'10", 6'11", I believe. And I think he'll be fine playing alongside Bam Adebayo. And they just re-signed Kevin Love. I did like what Thomas Bryant did in those limited spurts for the Lakers, giving you like 16 and 10, and just literally just off pick and roll, a couple post moves. Doesn't need a lot to get your center involved. You find them rolling to the rim if they have one or two post moves and make it and make it shoot the three. That just that I mean that's 10 points easily right there. But just mostly scoring off putbacks or just being at the right place at the right time. So I think Thomas Bryant is going to do well in Miami. Um, Looking at Miami, they lost Gabe Vincent. They also lost Max Strus as well. Strus has left Miami. The former DePaul basketball player, is going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And he got a 4-year deal too, so good for him. All right, bear with me, you guys. I think I touched on mostly all of them, all the signings. There'll be more to come, obviously. Um, I don't want to butcher his name. Sasha Vezenkov, the EuroLeague MVP. He signed with the Sacramento Kings, and like I said, the Kings are determined to run it back. So I like that they're able to bring a player of his caliber onto their staff. I think that's good for Sacramento. I don't have any highlights or know anything about him other than he was a EuroLeague MVP. So we'll see what he does in the NBA next season. I'll be looking out for that. They might have to brush up and watch some highlights and just see what his game's all about. Patrick Beverly, who played for the Bulls last year, signed with the Philadelphia 76ers. I know Pat. He gave the Chicago Bulls a late push last year while we make the playoffs and whatnot. I think he'll be able to. I think he'll play a role in Philadelphia alongside PJ Tucker, providing that veteran leadership, and alongside Tobias Harris, and they still got Joel Embiid, and then they still have Tyrese Maxey. They do have James Harden on contract. He opted into his contract. They're trying to trade James, but there doesn't seem to be a market for Harden at this point now. So they could probably just hold on to James and trade him at the deadline. But only time will tell what ends up happening with James Harden. He can ultimately stay, but we'll see what happens there with Philadelphia. But bringing in a veteran guard like Patrick Beverly, I think will be good for them. Patrick Beverly's been an improved 3-point shooter in these last couple of years, so I mean he could play off it Embiid and hitting threes, and he plays tough defense. I think he'll be just fine in Philadelphia. And Pat's just tough. He brings that toughness, that Chicago mentality. So he'll bring that to Philadelphia and bring that to the locker room. And I think Philadelphia kind of needs that toughness. They ball out in the regular season, and when they get punched in their mouth in the playoffs, like they did with Boston. And I just think they need that vocal leader. So I think that's a good signing for the Sixers, a 1-year deal. So nothing too crazy there. We touched on Brook Lopez. He resigned with the Bucks. Obi Toppin got traded to Indy. Mo Wagner from Orlando resigned. Kenyon Martin Jr. Did get traded from the Houston Rockets. Like I said, they have a bunch of young players there, so they traded him to the Clippers. I think that's good for the Clippers. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have been banged up a lot these last few years, so be able to get a young forward under there would be good, especially with low management. I like Kenny Martin Jr.'s game. It's been expanding since he's been in the league, so I think he'll be fine. And with the Clippers playing with Russ and some other point guards there. Um, Patty Mills was also traded from Brooklyn to OKC. OKC or Brooklyn again is trying to shed some of those bad contracts. So Patty Mills, Seth Curry, and Joe Harris, those three players have all been traded and moved. So Brooklyn, I know that they're looking to reshape their roster. Miles Bridges, who was out of the league last year dealing with some legal issues, he re-signed with Charlotte for 1 year, and he's very skilled out of Michigan State. His last year when he played in the league, he was averaging, I believe, 20 points or so. So that'll be now there he's coming back to Charlotte to play alongside Lamelo and Brandon Miller. So I think he'll have a good year too. Eric Gordon, I'm not sure if I touched on this. He signed with the Phoenix Suns, so now the Suns have Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Eric Gordon. Who are all three great shooters. That's they're all shooting guards to me, all three of them. So they paired them alongside Kevin Durant. Eric Gordon still brings that veteran leadership. So I think that's a good signing for Phoenix. Lonnie Walker left is not who's with the LA Lakers. He went to Brooklyn's free agent, so Brooklyn did get a nice young guard back. And Lonnie Walker, he balled out with the Lakers, but when the Lakers made those trades, he was kind of the odd man out. So I think he'll could be looking for more of an opportunity in Brooklyn. So that's good for him. He should get that opportunity. Um, and then lastly, Torian Prince. Um, who's with Minnesota, signed with the Lakers as a free agent as well. And then I think the Denver Nuggets re-signed DeAndre Jordan, their veteran. So, and I believe that's all the moves that I have up to this point right now. If I'm looking at teams that really got better during free agency, the Lakers are definitely one of them. The moves they made are just great. Bringing in those young players, guy like Gabe Vincent, Cam Reddish, Jackson Hayes, Torian Prince. These guys are just going to be able to come in and help right away. They did let go of Mo Bamba and Malik Beasley, so they're both free agents, but they could possibly bring them back. But I like that the players that they surround LeBron with, and they obviously bring back Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, and Rui Hachimura. I love what the Kings did as well. In the player and keeping their core together. Um, and then I like what the Pacers are doing. I really like Obi Toppin. I think he can be a really good player. Tyrese Halliburton's a stud as well as a point guard. So I like what the Pacers were able to do. I think they're going to continue to improve and shock some teams. I don't believe they made the playoffs last year, if I'm correct, but I think they could be making a push this year. Um, Cleveland made some moves too, signing some guys, but we'll see. Milwaukee signed a lot of their guys and stood pack. Oh, and for I forget Reggie Jackson. So Denver re-signed DeAndre Jordan, and Reggie Jackson. They brought back two of their guys from their championship team. So I think Denver, who then they lost Bruce Brown, but they're able to keep some of their veterans, and I think that's good for them. Um, and then let's see. I like what Dallas did as well. Some of the players they're keeping in tow. Obviously, bringing back Kyrie and getting the center. Um, and yeah, I mean, uh, there's sure to be more moves to be made. There's still some free agents out there. A guy like Jay Crowder, or actually Jay Crowder, is rumored to be going back to Milwaukee. But there's still some guys that are still out available, like a Malik Beasley, who could help a team. Maybe he'll go to Miami or so. Josh Richardson, he went back to Miami. There's still guys available there, so I think as the dust settles, maybe this week from all the big signings, you'll get to see other, you know, smaller name players find teams, and you don't need to make these big moves in free agency to make a splash. You can make a splash simply by just signing a couple guys here and there to fit your needs and stuff like that. So. Um, the bigger moves might get more of the headlines, but I could see a team like Miami signing some guys and being right in the thick of it. You saw Miami make it to the finals with Strus and Gabe Vincent. Those guys are both undrafted free agency, so it really just depends on the players and the situations they end up with, um, and opportunities that they get. Summer League is getting ready to start this week. I want to say it starts the 7th. That's what I have on my calendar. Yeah, July 7th. So I'm definitely going to be doing a show this or next weekend, kind of highlighting some of the rookies and seeing who's been showing out in the summer league and balling out in the summer league. I think everybody wants to see Wembanyama, obviously a number one pick, and see how he matches up against NBA competition. So I'm excited about that. Um, and yeah, thank you for joining me for another session of Points in the Paint. I am Sam Odeyemi. Uh, Feel free to tweet me if there's something you want me to touch on. My Twitter handle is below, marks0220. And yeah, enjoy your evening. And I just look forward to touching base with you guys next week and we talking more NBA. All right, take care.